Hello, my name is Alex Hornick, and I'm doing my SSR project on the book Magnus Chase and the Sword of the Summer. The project that I'm doing is the book iMovie Vlog. There isn't a movie on this book, so I'm not going to be able to do a review of that. I'm just going to be doing the how the book should have ended and, the, you know, anything else. So we'll start off here with a bit of a summary on the book. Magnus has seen his fair share of trouble ever since the night where his mother told him to run, and she was murdered. He's lived alone on the Boston streets. He's staying one step ahead of the police and the truant officers because he doesn't really trust anybody due to the fact that his mother was killed, and she told him don't trust anybody. One day, Magnus learns that his Uncle Randolph is trying to track him down. His Uncle Randolph has been told, or his Uncle Randolph was told to be a man to stay away from. And he tries to, figure out why he's trying to track him down and, stay away from him. So he goes, and he gets caught by him, basically. When his uncle starts rambling on about the history and Magnus's birthright, a weapon that has been lost for 1,000 years or more, which is the Sword of the Summer. As he's talking, jabbering on about the stories of Asgard and the wolves and Valhalla and all of that, the puzzle pieces start falling into place in Magnus's mind, and Magnus finally starts remembering. And he's trying to keep the secret, before the fire giant attacks the city, trying to kill him and trying to take the Sword of Summer to kill his dad and start Ragnarok. And he dies, and that's basically a summary of the first part of the book. After he dies, he goes into Valhalla, and some tricky stuff happens there with the fact that he wasn't supposed to go to Valhalla and whatnot. He escapes. He fights a lot of different monsters. He climbs the World Tree, which is basically the world. And he has to fight, dwarves and elves and help his friends, Blitz and the Dark Elf. And he finally, gets the sword, defeats the giant, stops Ragnarok, defeats the wolf, because, wolves are a big part of the story. And that's basically it. He meets his dad, which is actually a very big part of the book. He actually meets his dad. So I will start with the plot. The plot of the book is basically Magnus has to. It's very mystery. It's very puzzle kind of. Magnus has to figure out what he's doing and why this is happening to him and exactly what is happening, because he really doesn't know for most of the book. And it's find the weapon, stop Ragnarok, which is the reset of the universe. And don't die trying, or he does die trying, but don't die again trying. So how I thought the book should have been changed was, I thought it was very, very, very like not necessarily bland, but not interesting, not as interesting as some of the author's other books. And the book, I think that the part where he gets kicked out of Valhalla because the sword, the sword isn't in his hand when he's dying. I think that was a bit corny, and how he gets out of Valhalla is very corny. I think those two should be changed. I think that it should be that he has a quest instead, which is a big part in these books. You have a quest so you can go do stuff as a demigod or a part of the Valhalla, member of the Valhalla. And I feel that Annabeth, who was in a lot of the other books, should have been a part of this book. It led on to believe at the end of this book that she would be brought in. I think the end is also very corny, because they saved the world, but like, I mean, how they did it, it was very, seemed rushed, or almost not as thought out as some of the other parts of the book. It seems like, oh, we'll just slap this together and, bada bing, bada boom, it's done. And I also think that how they laid out the Sword of Summer and how he found it, I think was kind of also a bit rushed. It seemed like they were trying to just get it in there, get it out, so they'd hook the reader, and make them keep reading. But I think how they did the plot twist of him actually dying, I think that was pretty cool. But I think it should have been a couple 100 pages more, just describing some more things in detail, and how the Sword of Summer is found. I mean, literally what he does is he reaches out his hand and he pulls it out of the water. He doesn't even pull it out of the water, he just goes like this and it pops into his hand. So I think that should have been a bit more of a look. I think it's funny. Certain parts are very comedic. About the two hobo friends, which actually turned out to be an elf and a dwarf. I think that's pretty funny. And I think it should have been a bit more in depth on how he was living in the streets, because it talked about how he was saved by the elf and the dwarf, as they were his guardians. How he was saved multiple times, and I felt that kind of should have been played out of it, maybe in the end or something, just to show that they were doing anything. So the two quotes that I have from the book, and their page numbers. The first one is on page 3, and so the two quotes that I have from the book are pretty important to the storyline, I think. One's kind of one of the comedic parts, but the other one's a major plot twist. Well, not really a plot twist, because he kind of says it in the beginning, but it kind of explains it. So the first one is page 45, and the quote that I have is just, he says, "Then I died," the end, which is kind of comedic. It shows to the story, because before that is a major fight between him and the fire giant, and he deals some massive blows to the fire giant. Magnus basically dies. He has a molten lump of asphalt in his chest, and then he throws the fire giant with him into the river, and he kills it, and he dies in the process. So that was a very small tidbit of a quote, but it was extremely important to the story. So the second quote that I have is on page 317. This one is very comedic, but it kind of tells part of the story, really, because this kind of whole book is a joke. I mean, it was a good book. It's very comedic in parts, and other parts was trying to be serious, but it really wasn't. So the second quote that I have says, "Die painfully, go to Valhalla, gain the ability to drag a rancid, colossal, severed head across a deck. Hooray." That's him talking about how they need to catch a sea monster, which actually ends up to be one of the major monsters in Norse legend, and he has to carry a giant bull's head onto a boat, and he wouldn't be able to do that normally, but since he went to Valhalla, he got the strength, being in Hari. I think that's how it's pronounced. You can't really pronounce stuff or know how to in a book, but basically he is talking about how these trials don't seem like he literally is dragging a bull head into the water, and it ends up actually saving the world. So that's it for my SSR project. Hopefully, get a good grade on this. It was a nice book. I liked it, but I like all of Rick Riordan's books in this universe in general thing. So I did the movie vlog, and yeah, that's it for this.